All right, so moving on and getting into the meat and potatoes of our show this week. We had this conversation going on kind of off to the side, and we've kind of kicked it around for a couple of weeks. We keep meaning to bring it up, and we never managed to get there. Tonight we're bringing it up. CJ, you asked the question, a very poignant one in the middle of a discussion. Is higher education all that it's cracked up to be, and is it really worth it? That kind of plays off what we were talking about last week, which was whether it's more important to be college educated or have some semblance of street smarts, basically to have some common sense. Because it is possible, and we see it all the time, that you get these people that come out of college and they've got these fantastic degrees, and yet they don't seem to know how to put the square peg in the square hole.
Wait, there's a square hole?
Yeah. So anyway,
you got nothing for that. You got to just play a random drop.
I didn't even know what to say.
Just mash it.
Just
punch it.
Like 5 or 6 of them at the same time. So anyway, it is an interesting.
I'm just going to come right out and say no. It's not worth it.
You don't believe it's worth
No.
it?
Well, it really does depend on what you're going to school for. If you're going for anything outside of an engineering or a medical degree or a law degree or something like that, going to school and getting $69,000, $100,000, $300,000 in debt for your basket weaving underwater degree.
See, and that's interesting that you say that, because I'm beginning to believe that the higher education industry, and I really think it's an industry, is a really good racket, because they seem to be inventing degrees for more and more things, like underwater basket weaving.
There are some very serious ones that you can get a degree in that I believe are basically useless.
It used to be that you could get out of high school and get a pretty decent job. And there used to be 2 ways of making it in life, if you will. You could go through your high school and then move on to higher education and go through college and come out. It was kind of like the tantamount to going through ROTC when you were in school, in high school, because then when you enlisted, you automatically kind of went in with a higher rank. Whereas otherwise, if you didn't go through ROTC, you could still enlist, but you started out at the bottom and had to work your way up. And it was the same deal in the career world. You could go through high school, go to higher education, come out of that, and immediately start in some mid-level job. Or you could leave high school, go right to work, and work your way up the ladder.
Start in
to
the
same point.
mailroom.
Yeah, basically, and work your way up. Now, it seems as though having a bachelor's is the new high school diploma. Yeah. It's I've seen job listings where if you want to flip burgers for X restaurant, you got to have a bachelor's. And I'm thinking, who's going to sit through 4 years of
bachelor's
college?
in flipology?
Yeah. Who's going to sit through 4 years in college and then have that $67,000 loan, and then or that debt, then go to work and flip hamburgers? You can't even make enough money to pay off your obligations.
Well, that's exactly what they're going to do, though, because they can't afford to get a better job. They simply won't get a better job, and you can't sit there and do nothing for too long. But a lot of times what they end up doing is going to grad school and acquiring more debt, because that will actually defer your payments on the debt you currently have.
Because you're kicking that can down the road. Kelly says she feels like it's more expected to attend college in the USA. In England, more entry-level jobs seem available, or vocational jobs.
Well, see, and again, that speaks to what used to be a respected path to a career in the U.S. There was a whole set of jobs that you could just walk into out of high school and work your way up the ladder.
Well, I got bad news for you. Those respected jobs now also put you in debt, because they have those, you can go to your, is ITT still around? Is that a thing?
ITT Tech?
Yeah.
One of those schools.
I'm sure they are.
There's a bunch of them in this photo, but they got all the trade tech schools. There's a LA Trade Tech where you can learn plumbing, all these other schools, and they are not cheap.
No, and again,
they're actually more expensive than a lot of these
This seems to be
other
one of those scenarios
but
where
you
they're
don't
just
have to go for 4
degrees.
years.
Well, the thing is, once you go in, you're kind of locked in, because they don't always go for the public financed loans. They go for a lot of private ones, and the private ones are a whole different creature.
Yeah,
because they have the same rules where you can't avoid them, but they're not bound by the same rules that the federal government is, where you can push them off this way or that way or change your payment structure. You really have to hustle and negotiate. And I actually have a friend who's seriously thinking about defaulting on his loans because he just can't pay it. He's paying something like $600 a month on student loans.
And here's an interesting fact about that, is that you can declare bankruptcy and you can shrug off a lot of debt that way. But one of the things you can't get rid of by declaring bankruptcy is a school loan.
Yeah,
Student loans, yeah.
That may be the only thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's one of the only things.
That and tax frauds and that kind of stuff. That and your taxes.
Yeah.
And
Jashima says, graduates working for minimum wage. My Chinese classmate says that going to work is valued over going to college. Learn by doing.
yeah.
Yeah, and somehow we've gotten away from that in this country. It's actually frowned upon now. If you can have a whole lot of experience behind you, and to a prospective employer, some kid fresh out of college with a BA or higher is automatically got the leg up on you, whether he's ever actually lifted a pen to paper and done any real work in his life doesn't matter.
And the sad thing is that all of these kids, all they've learned is that the world owes them something, so they don't want to do any work to begin with. That's kind of the current ilk that's coming out of schools these days. But I will say this one other thing. When you were talking about the education industry, why is it that 4-year degrees are now taking 5 years? Why do you have to take those extra courses that are completely unrelated to the stuff you're doing? That's strictly a financial decision.
I think it's like I said, higher education has become an excellent racket. It's right up there with healthcare. You know, they figured out how to turn it into a for-profit industry that is just preying upon the masses.
Tammy says certification programs and vocational programs are much better.
Well,
You have a much better chance of getting a job taking half the time.
Well, I agree with you to some extent. I think that you get a lot more useful information. You certainly get a lot more hands-on training. I don't think it carries the same weight with most prospective employers.
I think it depends on what it is.
Yeah,
though.
it depends on the job you're going for.
But I'll tell you the other thing that kind of drives this is the insurance industry, because you kind of, or like with government jobs, you have to say, oh yes, we've got the finance people, they've been trained in this, that, and the other, because theoretically, if a person's going to school for this, they're supposed to be a better, smarter, safer worker, versus if you get somebody who's fresh out, they might cost you more money as an employer because the insurance cost may be more expensive or something like that, like the liability insurance associated with it. It's a jacked up situation all around. So I'm still saying no, it's not worth it. And there's actually I know a guy who created an online school where you can basically go get a degree for free or significantly less than what it is, and you can actually apply at a school once you've taken all these courses, because a lot of these schools have their courses online and they're free. Like you can take Yale law classes, Harvard, all of them have all these online programs, and all of the stuff is basically on YouTube. You can take all these classes, take the test in the whole 9 yards, and then go to another school and say, I've done these things, and they basically give you a test to see if you know the material, and boom, you get your degree.
Yeah, but the problem is that you still have to pay that university.
No, you don't.
To take that test, you
Well,
sure
yeah,
do.
you have to take the test,
And
but it's going to
you end
cost you $2,000 versus $20,000.
I think it's almost as expensive to just take the test as it was to take
Well,
all
there's
the
only
classes.
a few schools that you can do it at, but it's not as
And
expensive.
are those schools accredited?
Oh, yeah,
because otherwise
absolutely.
it doesn't
They
even it doesn't give you any.
They are accredited
traction.
universities.
Textbooks are ridiculous, says Kelly.
Oh, yeah, that's the other side of that racket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video, I think it was the TV show Adam Ruins Everything, where he kind of goes through and talks about things that people believe are true and kind of tells you the truth of the matter, or as he sees it. And they were talking about, that most colleges these days have such high prices because of all the amenities. They are offering so much more than just classes. Yeah, they're trying to get you in there.
So
they have huge dorms, they have
Like a
spas,
country
they have all
club.
kinds of stuff. Yeah, and that they're adding all that stuff to the tuition. So you're
Okay.
not really just paying for the college courses, which you should be.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. How does that explain how community college prices have gone through the ceiling?
Yeah, that's
Well, they're
textbooks
still
are crazy.
extremely cheap in California by comparison.
Yeah, but that's kind of a relative scale. So
No, it's
Yeah,
cheaper than in some other states. And when you compare it to the cost of living in California, it's a significant difference.
And I remember seeing PCC, Pasadena City College, is actually free for a lot of people.
Yeah, if you graduate from any school, any of the public schools in Pasadena or the college district area, you can go to PCC for free.
for how long? Like for
to get
one
your
semester
degree.
or something?
No, to get your degree.
Really?
You go there for free. You have to do the work. But
Oh, you have to do the work? That's bullshit.
Hey, wait! Watch that.
Behind the Curtain says we should send Dennis Rodman back to North Korea and give him a free tattoo laced with smallpox.
I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. That's fantastic. He might be our viewer of the month right there.
Where's he coming from? What?
That's pretty good.
Dennis Rodman.
I'm gonna have to steal that.
Didn't he go to North Korea for a long time?
He had a picture of him hanging out with Kim Jong Il.
You know what I got to say about that? I would like to ask who was the caller that did this?
Behind the curtains.
Behind the curtain. Behind the curtain. If you could actually post that on our Facebook page, that would be awesome.
Do a mock-up of Dennis Rodman with this tattoo.
There you go. Yeah, that would be fantastic. You got to put that on.
Does he
there
have
so
any
that
space
everybody
left for a
can see
tattoo?
that you said, this thing that you've said, which is a phenomenal. I'm voting for you for president.
I feel like he's already covered with tattoos. Does he have any space?
Couldn't they just like rework one he's already had? I mean, do they need to put a fresh one on? Couldn't they just go over one that's already there?
Isn't this some stuff like that Putin used to do? Didn't they say he like poisoned somebody?
Oh
with
yeah.
radiation
Every
and
time
all
he's
that
got an
whatnot?
enemy that he doesn't like, they
Yeah.
suddenly drop dead from some kind of poison.
Radioactive
End up dead.
Yeah,
thing.
They live a half-life.
He's good at it.
He said a
See, we
half-life.
should take some lessons from him. Maybe I don't know.